What will it take for the state to mandate an all-out ban on natural gas in new construction in California? I'm curious of kind of what pushback have you've encountered along the way. Our colleague Erica Werner just did a really interesting story looking at how Los Angeles aims to become the first major carbon neutral city in the United States by 2035, and wrote a lot about kind of the back and forth with the natural gas industry in LA as it tries to make this transition. So if you could talk about what that back and forth has been like and what it means for new construction as you're trying to shift to all electric, that would be great.
Yeah, well, some of this, of course, is taking place in the courtroom. We did get sued by Southern California Gas Company, a lawsuit they ultimately backed out of. But I will say, I think it's important when we do these transitions that it be done in a planned way and in a graduated way. And one of the things that we're very attentive to is that the transition be predictable and that builders be brought along. And so we have a very, very robust public process that we run for every code cycle. This last code, I think we did 35 public workshops around the state. We take input from everyone, including builders, architects, environmental justice groups, environmental groups, utilities, and the gas industry, extensive engagement with them. And at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of embedded wisdom in the code as a consequence of this. One of the things that is really exciting to me when we look ahead is the potential for cost reduction. And just to take as an example, I think the solar industry is an excellent example of that. So I come out of the solar industry. I was in Silicon Valley before coming to the Energy Commission. I got into the field 20 years ago. And at that time, the price of utility scale solar was 50 cents a kilowatt hour. It was the most expensive energy resource on the grid. Today, it's 2 cents a kilowatt hour. It's the cheapest source of energy on the grid. And that kind of market transformation is not actually that complicated. The cost reduction is driven by three things. It's innovation, automation, and scale, and it's mostly scale. And the same thing is true for electrification. When we look at appliances like heat pump water heaters, which have come down significantly in cost, as we create codes and invest in R&D, the cost of those appliances is going to continue to come down. There's huge opportunity for further cost reduction. And ultimately, these technologies are going to win on price alone. In the interim, as we're coming down in cost, that's where I think the role of government needs to be, which is just on driving those costs down, working with stakeholders to bring it mainstream. So to answer your question, I mean, we are headed for and need to get to a world beyond fossil fuels. I will just tell you, living in California as a native Californian, for people who are not on the West Coast of the United States and haven't experienced these fires, it is unbelievable. I live in the Bay Area. I've never in my life seen wildfire smoke in the Bay Area until 3 years ago. Now we've had it 3 summers in a row. My family got sick. We had to leave for a couple of weeks. Watching your kids go through that is horrific. And I think there is an incredible sense of urgency that all of us in California feel because we're living through it and we're breathing this air. And so that has changed the politics around this. And you're having major companies, just as an example, Pacific Gas and Electric Company, which is one of the largest gas utilities in the country, wrote me a letter in support of an all-electric building code. I mean, this is just a sea change in the dynamics. And so the direction we're going is clearly beyond fossil fuels, but we want to do that in a way that really makes sense, gets us there quickly, and can work in the marketplace.